Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. A well, vetri well. Welcome to Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Abhijit, namaskaram and how are you?
Very well, and thanks for having me on. I'm doing great. How about the rest of you? Apparently, there's a big chemical spill in your area, as bad as Chernobyl or even worse.
It's not that bad, but essentially what happened
It
was
is.
um, a train carrying vinyl chloride compound. It jumped tracks, and it's a very messy way in which it has got entangled, and they had to evacuate the town surrounding it because the vinyl chloride had to be basically put on fire. And so, Abhijit, you tell us what you see from your side of the world, how you view the whole thing.
Now, for a government that is apparently very green and eco-friendly, I'm just amazed at the extent at which they're going to suppress the news of this. And not one member of the liberal media is talking about this. It's a chemical spill serious enough where you have to evacuate stuff. And they're more interested in talking about shooting down, intercepting things in the air, which they're refusing to provide aerial reconnaissance images of. I think they got this idea from the balloon that came in, which everybody saw images of, and they've decided it's a fantastic way to divert attention from all the problems happening. Is anybody talking about the Hunter Biden laptop story on Twitter right now? No. They're all talking about UFOs.
Yes, indeed.
And they're not talking about the chemical spill either.
And on the topic of the chemical spill, the residents were threatened with jail if they did not comply with the evacuation notice. Things are pretty bad. Some people are very unhappy about this. There was a single father of 9. He was saying that, look, what can I do? I mean, I need to be at home. This is just getting too messy. So the American, landscape is so big, Abhijit. Sometimes, when you step 100 miles away from the Beltway or away from some of these big interstates, right? The landscape kind of falls away. It's pretty backward. And this particular train was, it was transporting good stuff. And somewhere one axle of one bogie broke. And that essentially, I think it was in the middle. So you have this effect where the compartments got completely tangled, and you have like a multiple Z kind of S kind of a structure on the two tracks. The entire place is cordoned off. It caught fire, and finally they decided that they needed to burn the vinyl chloride out. And it is an extremely toxic compound. Let me not mince words here. An extremely toxic compound, very dangerous. And why it was being done this way, no one knows. I mean, infrastructure bill that Biden tried to pass failed. Some Democrats themselves didn't want that to pass. I mean, that is one of the main reasons. Some of these things are 60 years old. They are basically on the brink of extinction.
But remember, America has also, thanks to business interests, car interests, and plane interests, America has also gone out of its way to make trains unviable. They've seen to it that trains are both unviable and, the thing is, you've seen how the Los Angeles to San Francisco, there is no better case for a train from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I've never seen any two city pairings that are more in need of a train. Okay, and yet it's been made totally unviable to the point now it can't recoup costs for generations to come, possibly. It's what, $24 billion and counting right now?
Yes. See, the feasibility is a little bit up in the air, Abhijit, for the simple reason that, like you said, there is a vested interest. See, California was the dream state of all the auto manufacturers. They're not going to just like that give it up. Because I can tell you, if this becomes popular, people will stop driving back and forth. That Interstate 5, even on a Friday night, sometimes it will be choked because there is so much traffic going up and down that thing. So it is more a business, political interest rather than the feasibility. And it's something that is much needed. There's only one challenge. There's a place called Tejon Pass near LA, which is 4,000 feet high. So essentially the train has to climb up from sea level to 4,000 feet. And then there is a rapid decline on the other side. So you have to manage that. You understand? I don't know if
But remember, I've heard about this. The issue is, I have seen much more precarious climbs or descents rather being dealt with by the Chinese in the Tibet Railway, right? So I really don't. So there is no engineering problem out here per se.
No, there isn't. There isn't. There is more of a political will. Plus, the land shakes quite a bit there. That is where the Calaveras fault and some of the other faults, the Northridge fault they call it. It's all over there. So there is a few things that need to be considered. But like everything else, Americans make a big deal of some of these things because they don't want people to take to rail transport. I mean, believe me,
And
once California takes to rail travel, finish.
that's the end of most of the automotive industries
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
Now, this Tehran Pass, as I understand it, it also has a very good functioning road system going right through it. Now, imagine you can build a road there, but you can't build a rail there. Ye kiski baat hai?
Correct. Absolutely true. So, viewers, I'm going to share with you a UFO-like structure also flying over Mexico.
They're teleporting, dude.
And then way, how does it exit?
Is there any more coming? That's crazy. They look like fairies.
As you can see, this is a UFO over Mexico. Most likely it will turn north and come into United States also. This was yesterday. So yesterday was also Super Bowl. Can you believe it? I have not watched a single game this year in football. Not a single game, not even a single frame, including Super Bowl yesterday. I was busy doing other things. So anyway, times are changing. I guess I'm getting
Hasn't generally the viability of Super Bowl and all these things come down since they went woke? Nobody wants to watch them because normally the toxically masculine types who watch them, and they don't want to watch all the woke shit that happens on all of this crap.
You know, Abhijit, there are special deals working up to Super Bowl on TVs in almost every big store that you can think of. Unimaginable deals. They'll say, celebrate your Super Bowl in style. Get this thing with so many different angles, so many more speakers, and so on and so forth. And this time was a very, very subdued affair. Anyway, on the UFOs, see, I can clearly see that they are making noise here, but something else is happening here on the other side. You went, you muted yourself, please. Can you unmute?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So what is happening? Noise here, action here. What is the action?
No action.
No. Something is going on. there is a Tamil saying, "Soriyam kudumi summa adada." Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So, but you want to interpret that to the viewers?
Sodium, how you interpret it? I'm not very good at interpretation.
It's kind of a guy who does all this smoke and mirror stuff. And when he starts shaking his head like this, and he has a tiki, and the tiki goes all over the place, then essentially he's trying to keep your attention to his tiki, whereas something else is happening on the other side.
It's like the chicken and the coxcomb, basically, but see, you can't interpret it properly in an English context. The idiom is completely lost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chalo, let's go to our question and answer session. We still don't know the reason or the impact of these UFOs, but we will keep you posted. Abhijit, as always, he gets in his dreams. He wakes up in the morning. If he remembers, he'll tell us what is going to happen next. Abhijit, question number 1. Aditya B wants to know, can mythology triumph theology at all? Or is it theology too advanced to even compete with? So go ahead, one question.
Look, theology will always triumph. I'll tell you why. Theology gives you answers to what is. Okay. Mythology deals with what was. Historically, we've also seen this. This is my hypothesis, but also in terms of pure statistics, Hinduism only survived because it had theology very early on. Okay, so theology will always trump mythology.
Next question, please. Any good literature on this?
No. No.
Sorry,
You just
Aditya,
have to
please
read
have
lots of
one
histories.
question. Yeah, one question per phase, okay? It gets a little difficult for us to read more than one question at a time. This is fine. We should send it another one. Aditya wants to know about stupid school drag shows in the US with striptease. Can you explain what's happening and why now suddenly it appears like sleeper cells are coming alive?
Look, I don't have an issue with a drag show. Remember that movie with what was his name? Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah.
It was a drag show. Okay, and it was clean, healthy, fun. Nobody had an issue with it. All right. Even when Kamala Hassan made it into Tamil, 𝙒𝙗𝙪𝙥𝙥𝙤𝙪, there was no issue with it. The problem is the sexualization of it and the strip teasing and all of that. And therein lies the problem. Okay, because their whole attitude to it is everybody, you're falsely foisted this thing that men are attracted to women and what beauty is and this and that. And all of this needs to be broken down through sexualizing the young. It's it's pedophilia. Let's call it what it is. It's just plain simple pedophilia. These people need to be in jail, not in schools. It's that simple. Okay, now there is an argument for pedophilia, and I'll tell you what it is. It is that historically, human beings only are meant to live for 32 to 33 years maximum. Technically, some people even say 26 years. So by the time you achieved puberty at around, depending on how carnivorous your diet was, if it was very carnivorous, you achieved it earlier at about 9. If it was, a nutrition deficient, you reached around 11, 12. You are ready to procreate and you are ready for sex. Wrong. That was at one point of time when you did not have modern medicine, where the amount that the brain could develop before you had to start taking responsibilities was much less. Today, the average life is something like 70 years. You've got a lot longer to live. The physiognomy hasn't caught up to the responsibility. Okay, and therefore, it is a grave violation of what modern responsibility is to go by physiognomy, which hasn't caught up to responsibility yet. And it's not sleeper cells coming alive. It's all the pedophile enthusiasts and pedophile sympathizers who are coming alive.
Next question from Mandar Karnik. Why do you think USA is working towards giving credibility to UFO UAP?
I don't know. It's like you say, propaganda. Look, I've always believed that intelligent life exists. I do believe there is intelligent spacefaring life in the universe. I don't think that they've influenced human creation or anything like that, as a lot of people would like you to believe. And the reason they want to get into all of this is they want to create a new sense of paranoia or whatever and get you away from problems that are happening on the ground today. Basically, it's classic diversion.
Mandar, it feels like they are trying to calibrate something. The first balloon flew at 60,000 feet. The second one, which was a cylindrical shape, flew at 40,000 feet. The third one that was shot down over Lake Huron was octagonal with all sorts of odd things stuck around, and that flew at 20,000 feet. 40,000 or below, you are actively into commercial airspace corridors, so it becomes a threat there. So we have to see what exactly is the grand plan behind. I think at this time, the NORAD, the US Department of Defense, is scrambling a little bit. They can't make sense of it either. That's how it looks like.
Look, I think basically all of this is bullshit. I have zero proof. Have you seen any proof that these balloons were there? Have they released any imagery?
You can see the balloons. I mean, the first shot down was completely captured.
That one was
true.
But the second and third balloons, have you seen any proof that they existed?
Yeah, the latest one, yes. The Lake Huron, they have captured it. It is there.
Where?
And go to. I'll send you some links. It's a keyword that you need to look at. Look at Lake Huron as a keyword in Twitter hashtag, and you'll see a lot of stuff.
Okay, I'll see a lot of
or
stuff
UFO.
of the okay, because I am not believing.
No, we'll put it up here. Our guy will take a look at it. You will put it up here. Don't worry. The whole viewers can see. Let's take to the next question. I just showed you one that was flying over Mexico. This has not been shot
Yeah.
down yet.
Yes. There's lots of stuff, but it doesn't. There's a lot of.
There are one or
Talk.
two that actually show the
There
Lake
are-
Huron thing.
No, there's no images showing the Lake Huron thing. There's just heaps of speculations as to what it might be, but no image of the actual thing.
Chalo, let's move on with the game, Abhijit. We'll find it for you. Don't worry. Our supremely talented team, in fact, has found something. Here we go.
Oh, dog. Holy shit. Zoom in.
That was it.
This isn't octagonal at all.
This is not octagonal.
Oh.
Hang on.
It's not even cylindrical.
Dude, hold the dog. Here. Dude, it's disappearing. It's gone. Look at that. It's gone. You can't see it no more.
No, this was over when it was flying over, I think, West Coast, somewhere close to there. At Lake Huron, you can see the octagonal shape, but again, there is not enough information. There were a couple of videos that I saw. Here is one more coming up. We'll make sure that there is some substance. Okay, let's go to the next question. Ishan Sharma wants to know why did BRS turn so much anti-Modi BJP post 2018-19 even after taking help and agreeing to every point of NDA since coming to power?
So again, apparently they did it very specifically so that BJP will become the opposition and to finish off the Congress. Naturally, in Telangana, Congress should have been the opposition. No, today nobody's talking about the Congress. So it's so understand KCR. But all the business people tell me that KCR is one of the easiest chief ministers to work with. Okay, he understands stuff and he gets things done fatafat. Okay. He's also been supporting every BJP thing ever. Now, when he suddenly turns anti-BJP, you should sit down and ask, what is isme dal mein kuch kala hai? And the dal mein kuch kala hai, seeing to it that BJP becomes the opposition and not Congress. It's towards Congress Mukh Bharat, just like Owaisi. Owaisi is B team of the BJP, boss. Make no mistake about it.
We've been saying that too for a long time. Yes.
Yeah.
Next question, please. These are all complicated games that Mr. Amit Shah loves to play. He can play multi-level chess at a very advanced level. Also, I'm told. Ishan Sharma wants to know, why is the MCD mayor elections getting postponed again and again? Is AAP afraid that their own elected members might rebel? Your take on SC saying that the LG selected members can't vote in the mayor of MCD.
So look, basically what it is it's a power grab. The selected members plus this thing is a very close call. And the AAP obviously expected to win with much higher numbers. The BJP did a very, very good campaign and saw to it that they didn't win by the numbers they were expecting. Okay. So now the BJP is trying every trick in its book to prevent the election from happening. They're trying to use every method to, bring down the margin between them and the AAP, and obviously then engineer defections and things like that from happening. So yeah, it's just normal politics, boss. Nothing new.
Soham Majumdar wants to know, sir, as Stalinist architecture had massive decor elements, why doors and windows are so simple, dull, and cheap labor available during Stalin's reign, and no emphasis was given on aesthetics about interior and exterior?
No. I'm very sorry, Soham. You've got it all wrong. Stalin saw a rise in neoclassicalism. In fact, Russia was the mother of the Bauhaus style. Do you know that? What the Bauhaus school became originated in Russia. Russia at the end of the Tsarist period had some incredible modern architecture coming about. Straight lines, glass and things like that. Stalin, in fact, rebelled against it and brought about this whole new style, which went back to ornate elements. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
1 second. Present, share screen. So I want you guys to see this. They're called the Vysot Niki Moscow. So these were the great Stalinist skyscrapers, right? And they're the Seven Sisters of Moscow. So you see, they were actually quite ornate. You look at them, they were meant to be both skyscrapers and they were meant to be, you look at the level of ornamentation out here. This is the Hotel Ukraina. It was a Marriott or something when I stayed in it. The interior is gorgeous. It is incredibly well decorated. Okay. And this is another one that I've stayed in. This is the, okay, so this is the Foreign Ministry, which is, again, it's gorgeous on the inside. The wood paneling and stuff is to die for. Look at this. This is a level of artistic sophistication that you don't find very often. You know, and this is the Leningradskaya. This is a Hilton. Is this the Hilton that I've stayed at? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I've stayed inside this one as well. And it's a fantastic thing. In fact, if you're in Moscow, this one is a 5-star, which normally sells its rooms for about 5,000, 6,000 rupees a night. It's one of the most affordable 5 stars in Moscow. And I highly recommend you stay in one of these. The Ukraina is much more expensive, right? But you stay in one of these buildings and they're stunning buildings. I mean, they're very stunning on the outside as well, but they're also quite stunning on the inside. This is, don't talk about this. This is late Khrushchev style architecture. So that doesn't count. But this is a similar building that got built in Warsaw. Okay, and it's the Palace of Culture and Science. And it's also, the inside for me wasn't all that great, but it inspired a whole movement. And apparently it was derived from the Empire State Building and things like that. So, and the Chrysler Building. So, you know, it's Stalin did good things for architecture, boss.
Next question, please. Kanda Batata. Does the American police suffer from institutionalized racism or training problems? What are your thoughts on Tyre Nichols' question to both of you?
Look, the problem isn't institutionalized racism. It is the militarization of the police. Okay. Inherent biases are there in every institutional structure. You can't control institutional biases. The problem with America is that because of guns, you have a certain militarization of police and over-aggressive training. And this is, I think, where the right went horribly wrong. In their attempt to protect guns, they've literally ceded the house to people who claim that this is all the effect of racism rather than what it is, which is militarization as a result of gun ownership. Okay, you look at other countries. So, for example, in France or Britain or Germany, where gun ownership is highly restricted, the police are nowhere near this brutal. They get nasty during riot control, but riot control is a completely different ballgame, right? So, the problem is militarization and a very low threshold for violence, which is institutional, not racism.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Abhijit. Same thoughts. See, remember that the American Constitution gives you provision, right to bear arms. In other words, every citizen of the United States can go legally register himself and have a firearm. They can use it in their house. So I mean, you can store it in your house and you use it as you see fit. In fact, there are some state laws that allow you to even shoot down strangers when they kind of do some things wrong. This was another story that happened 15 years ago in Florida. So the things around guns are not so clearly defined in the United States. It's trigger-happy people. And yesterday I saw on California, on a multi-state, 2 cars going at 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, or 120 kilometers per hour, and they are actually having a shootout. One guy sticks his head out and then starts shooting at the car to his right, and that guy is driving with one hand and shooting with his left hand.
Yeah. Now, remember, even this right to bear arms, in my opinion, is a misjudgment. This was, people like Scalia and things, while they existed in the Supreme Court. Remember, I'm going to read out the part. a well-regulated, this is the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Understand, the right to bear arms is part of being a regulated militia. But in the US Supreme Court judgment, they divorced the need for a militia from the right to bear arms. Now, when was the Second Amendment enacted? Any ideas?
1800s, I think.
Yeah,
1788 they became formal. So
it would be the late 1700s. Now, remember, in the late 1700s, there were Native American tribes coming, killing, raping women and children left, right, and center when America was growing. Okay. And vice versa, of course. So you can say that there was a need to bear arms, because if you were living in some territory where some native tribe decided to come and stage a horse raid, what could you do? You had to bear arms, right? This is not the case today. The reality has changed. What was valid in 1780, 1790 is no longer valid anymore. So, there was a fundamental problem with this law. I very much believe that the big lacuna of the US right is that in their love for weapons, they've ceded a huge talking point on race to the Democrats.
You want to take a drop of water? You've been coughing.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Kanda Batata again. Which Bronze Age civilization was the most advanced?
Impossible. You can't compare. They were differently advanced with different things.
Garam Chai Ki Pyali. Good song. Abhijit, who won the Battle of Hydaspes?
Do I really care? I personally think Porus won it, but historiography says Alexander. My own instinct, based on what happened after it, says Porus won. And certainly in terms of Indian historiography, because no Indian source actually mentions Alexander at all. It's like he didn't even exist. Now, for somebody to supposedly win so many battles and come so deep inside India, for him to not exist in the Indian memory completely. And mind you, wherever Alexander went and won, he founded cities named Alexandria. He even founded cities named after his horse, Bucephalus. There's a town called Bucephala. How come he never founded a city in India? In Afghanistan. I think Bucephala is either in Uzbek. Hang on, let me just check. Bucephala city. Two cities. Bucephala or Alexandria Bucephalus, a city in Punjab, founded in his honor. Really? Punjab mein kahan hai ye?
आपने आपका ही आर्गुमेंट नकार दिया.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. ये देखो, this is
this is a Pakistani plot to defeat Abhijit Iyer-Mitra.
No.
It was created moments ago.
Abey yaar, 1 second. Yeah, look at this. I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
Share screen. So can you see this?
Right.
All the cities here are on the east bank of the Indus. On the west bank of the Indus.
Right.
Right. You look at this Hydaspes. He plants his city on the other side. Bucephala is on the other side. Okay. You look at Alexandria on the Indus, it's on the west end of this thing. The third Alexandria is again on the west end. Now, if he had conquered, because Porus is meant to have been on the east end of the Hydaspes, no? Why is there absolutely nothing on the east end of the Hydaspes? He's meant to have fought several battles down. He's
Yeah,
meant to have gone all the way here. But
Hmm.
notice when he see, ultimately they come all the way here and they return via the coastal route to Persia.
Right.
Why
Hmm.
is it that when he comes down here, either kuch bhi nahi hai and the city is actually very deep on the other side of the Indus?
Hmm.
So there are a lot of things to indicate that the Hydaspes line, was the Hydaspes leading up to the Indus was the last line of his advance.
Interesting. They gave names to all the 5 Punjab rivers also. Interesting.
वो तो करेंगे.
Vamsi wants to know, what's your view on Sunday Guardian report that some PIO and European officials are planning for regime change in 2024
It's
elections?
bullshit, yeah. Bullshit. Look, that paper has a very bad tendency of producing all kinds of rubbish.
We seem to have momentarily lost Abhijit. It could be a power loss. It could be something else. But he will rejoin us. Please like this video. Also, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button. And here he is back again. Go ahead.
So that newspaper, I don't know what happened. Maybe the forces that were planning the regime change decided to move me out. But that newspaper and that reporter, I don't believe, take them a single word of what they say seriously. I never have. Thank you very much.
Vamsi said, you said you like kandipodi. I suggest you mix it with sambar. It will be delicious.
No, absolutely not. Vamsi, mixing kandipodi with sambar is an insult both to the kandipodi and the sambar. You need to have a particularly tasteless kandipodi and a particularly tasteless sambar to do that. I will not do
it. Next question, please. Garam chai ki pyali. Abhijit, what do you think about the claims that Ayurveda is pseudoscience and outdated?
I don't accept that. You know, there are lots of things that my mom has undergone in Ayurveda that have cured ailments that regular medicine could not. Okay, there was a very clear cause effect. What is experimentation? Today, modern medical experimentation is cause and effect. You do this results from it, right? There was a very clear cause and effect logic to Ayurveda. Okay. Now, has that been expanded and has it been diluted? Sure. But the core of it has always been scientific cause and effect, and I do not agree that it is pseudoscience.
Garam chai ki pyali ho, I want to give you a personal experience. I had a corn growing on the sole of my foot. And you all know that I work standing. In fact, I'm still having a bit of that left. The only thing that could cure it was Ayurveda ointment. I mean, and I had to do it like 4 times. I have to apply it. There's a little bit of a process to it, but it slowly, took away the what do you call as the thing that was causing that corn, become hardened skin, and I just couldn't put weight on my left foot at all. And see, the equivalent in allopathy is something called as salicylic acid based. What it does is essentially eat skin. In this case, that did not happen. It managed to separate that hard tissue from the remaining part of my soul so that I could just that just came off. And now I'm much, much better. This was a 4-month process. I had to do it every day. There was something during the day and something during the night. So they had some kind of a yin-yang kind of a process. And Ayurveda, I tell you, some of the problems such as joints related, muscle related, overall briskness as you grow older, there are some treatments. You have to take the 21-day treatment that gives you energy like you would not believe. You have to experience it to believe it. I've done it and I'm very, very happy for doing so. Next question from Abhishek. Sir, madam, Russia's 15% to 20% populations are Muslim, and we all know about Chechenia. Can Russia in future, as its economy gets bad, face any kind of secession, separate movement in their Muslim provinces?
They're not 15 to 20% Muslim. I don't know where you got that number from. They're much lower than that. They've faced the worst kind of separatism in Chechnya, boss. They can deal with any of it anywhere. No problem at all.
Next question, please. Vamsi again. Neftali Bennett has leveled some allegations on the US related to peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And what are your views on his allegations, and are they true?
Now, remember, the only reason Neftali Bennett was in power, Netanyahu had the numbers the last time as well. the Biden administration worked very hard to keep him out of power, and Neftali Bennett came to power because of the Biden administration's interference in Israeli politics, right? Now, for Neftali has exactly zero self-interest in saying this, and yet he's saying it. But you go by what happened. I know for a fact from several people I've spoken to the Europeans who hate Putin, saying we've been telling Zelensky, and Zelensky is also open to a peace deal. Every time it's the Americans and the Brits who come and tell him not to do it. And then he, for whatever reason, he agrees with the Americans at the end of the day. So we know for a fact that this is true.
Next question, please. Abhishek wants to know, is it true that Hitler was informed by his generals that Barbarossa was not going to succeed, and similar was the story in Italy and Japan? Then it was Hitler's madness which ultimately started World War II?
There's a lot of doubt on if any of his generals actually told him Barbarossa wouldn't succeed. And I'll tell you why. The French campaign, the generals were surprised by how quickly it went. They did not expect it to go as fast as it did. Okay, so he had essentially won. Now, remember, this whole thing that somehow Blitzkrieg combined arms was a Nazi German invention is wrong. Because of limited resources, the Germans had traditionally, since the time of von Moltke, Bismarck, and all of that, been gearing up for highly mobile, rapid warfare. Okay, so they had never encountered a situation. In fact, they had not even calculated that their supply lines would get extended. They just believed that they would go on. In fact, I think, might somebody have warned Hitler? Sure, I'm sure there was a picture. There might have been a note that somebody gave Hitler. The problem is we don't have that note. As far as we can tell from all the existing records, nobody actually warned Hitler that Barbarossa was going to fail. And you look at how far the German army advanced in the first stages of that war, it actually seemed that Hitler had gotten it right. Till, of course, Russia caught up. I mean, the vastness of Russia caught up. They should have known, because the same thing happened to Napoleon. But understand, Napoleon was defeated by the Russians even before winter set in. Never forget that. People tend to forget that. Hitler was defeated even before winter set in. Never forget this. Everybody tells you it was the Russian winter and Leningrad and Stalingrad that defeated Hitler. Wrong. Hitler was forced to turn back from Moscow even before winter set in. The same way that Napoleon had been defeated by the Russians. Of course, he won Borodino. It was a Pyrrhic victory. But Napoleon was defeated by the Russians even before winter set in. Winter greatly exacerbated the scale of the Russian victory. But the Russians won both the Napoleon campaign and the Hitler campaign before. In fact, it is after the Battle of Moscow that the tide turns, not after Stalingrad. After Stalingrad, the tide turns much more rapidly. Okay, but it happened after the Battle of Moscow. Moscow was the beginning of the end. Right? So with Japan, it was different. With Japan, we know for a fact, there are notes to prove it, that Admiral Yamamoto, when he was asked by Emperor Hirohito...
Tora.
What?
Go ahead. It's in a movie called Tora.
Oh God, no, don't go by movies. Movies are rubbish. Never assume movies tell you the truth. So what happens is, we have the notes where Yamamoto tells him, I can guarantee you victory for 6 months, but after 6 months, we're going to lose this war. And Hirohito knowingly enters that war. The problem is Hirohito didn't really have an option, because the fuel embargo that America had imposed meant that Japan was going to run out of fuel, and they desperately needed to capture all the oil extraction, the oil fields in Batavia, that is to say modern-day Indonesia, which was a Dutch province at that point of time. So it had to happen, right? So Hirohito did a cost benefit. He was told he did a cost benefit, and Admiral Yamamoto knew exactly what was going to happen. Mussolini knew exactly what was going to happen because Count Ciano told him what was going to happen. Mussolini, if you actually listen to his speech on the balcony of his palace to the crowd, admits we're going to get defeated. His entrance into the war, the speech entering the war, is an admission of defeat. Right? So I would say that Mussolini knew, Hirohito gambled, Hitler never knew. And a high possibility that his troops were also full of chutzpah.
Hey, listen, can you tell us what happened in Dunkirk? Why did the Germans, having surrounded the British and the French soldiers, close to 300,000 of them, let them flee to England?
They never anticipated their victory was going to be so swift. So they didn't know what to do. See, it's a question of, do I kill off these soldiers who do not pose a threat, or deal with units and columns that are in the field further south in France that do pose a threat? And they decided that they needed to wipe out the units that posed a threat rather than a withdrawal that did not pose a threat to them at that point of time.
Interesting. Viewers, you can watch a movie called The Darkest Hour. It's available on online platforms.
Listen, please don't. No, please, please don't recommend these movies when you're on. No, please. No, you will not recommend movies when
these
you're
people
on.
are not everybody can read books. Okay?
No, you have to read.
You have a 400-page book.
No,
which will
movies.
take you 10 hours.
No. Better. It's better you either read that, but do not watch movies. It is better you read books. If you don't watch movies, then watch documentaries on YouTube. Please do not watch movies.
Anyway, let's go on to the next question. Malyaban Bhattacharya wants to know, first question from him, contrary to the popular perception, a lot of civilizations like Assyrian, Sumerian, Mesopotamia, Persia, Egypt, 𝙒𝙗𝙤𝙦 flourished in semi-arid and arid regions. Can you expand briefly on this?
Yes, also Peruvian. You look at the first Peruvian civilizations which come up around the same time, around 2500 BC. I think it's the 𝙤𝙤𝙣𝙬 Huántar. Is it the 𝙤𝙤𝙣𝙬 Huántar or the Moche? I forget. That come up around the same time. They also are in an extremely semi-arid region. And there's a reason for this. Semi-arid regions are actually incredibly productive. You get the greatest production when you manipulate just one weak link. So, for example, a crop is much more likely to produce a bumper yield when you control water than when water is abundant, because it feels it is going to starve and the need to survive is so great, it tries to procreate as much as possible for redundancy in the future. It is also the mentality then of the people living there, because their existence is just one drought away from death. So they are actually much more challenged for their existence, which forces them to push innovation more, as opposed to somebody who lives in a fertile environment where, he really doesn't care. No matter what he does, he's going to have food, more food all the time. And this is the common reason why all of these civilizations arose in semi-arid areas, that it pushed both the agriculture, the survival instinct was greater both in the grass. Remember, all of these were based on grass. Wheat is a grass, rice is a grass, corn is a grass. They're all grass-based crops. They pushed the grass for greater survival and they pushed the human for greater survival.
And our ancient civilizations knew where the water lay underneath. I can give you any number of examples, but anyway, let's move on to the next one. Next question, please. Maliban again, question 2. I find a stark difference between the Jews living in Israel and those who made USA their home, wherein Israeli Jews are more right-wing than their American counterparts. Any particular reason?
Yes, the difference between reality and dreams. Those who live in America don't face the consequences of their actions. Those who live in Israel live with the consequences of their actions. Right. So basically, the Jews who live in New York are snorting cocaine and like Zelensky. The ones who live in Israel actually have to do national service and fight, and they don't know when they're going to be killed by some Palestinian suicide bomber.
Next question, please. Guts the Black Swordsman. Do you think Japan will ever adopt immigration policies like the EU did to make up for their declining population, or would they rather slowly perish than allow that kind of immigration?
I think they would rather perish.
You know, he has a point. If you look at the lineage of prime ministers since the Second World War, it's almost always a small group of families from where the prime ministers come. So essentially, it tells you that the overall mindset of Japan hasn't changed. Next question, please. Guts the Black Swordsman. According to you, what do you think is the end game for the woke, as in what do they actually want to achieve in the West?
There is no end game. It is perpetual revolution. It is there is no end. Look, this is anarchy. The point of an anarchist is that there should be, well, these people are more nihilists, really. But their thing is that there should be perpetual churn in society. There is no end game. It is perpetual churn.
Guys, you should have your dictionary by your side. Abhijit is using big words today. Pyrrhic. Then
Oh God, sorry.
Nihilist just now.
Yes. So
Go ahead.
let me explain. Pyrrhic. So there was a victory that is
At great cost.
won at great cost, where you don't even know if it is a defeat or a victory realistically, is called a Pyrrhic victory. Okay, and this comes from the Epirot Wars, which the Romans fought against the Greeks when the Romans were taking over Greece. Or rather, when one of the Greek generals had come to Rome and Pyrrhus, and that is why it's called a Pyrrhic victory. The difference between anarchism and nihilism is that an anarchist believes that society grows through heaps of anarchy, a fluid society where nothing is ever settled, and that's how society keeps pushing boundaries. A nihilist believes that it's all pointless, so we need to agitate as much as possible because no end is ever good.
Now you are going to explain what flossy, nosy, nihilipilification means.
No, I'm not. I don't even know what it means.
That's the longest word in the English language. Hardik Thakkar wants to know, do you see BRICS currency and Saudi joining BRICS this year? Will it help de-dollarization?
No. There is no BRICS currency possible. There are 5 totally different economies. They are not complementary to each other. Their economic strengths are totally different. They cannot form. A common currency would be an absolute crying disaster. And can Saudi join BRICS? Yeah, possibly. But is there going to be a BRICS currency? No. Look,
China prints officially 6 notes with the same serial number. I mean, nobody's going to accept that. Next question.
Yeah.
Sachin wants to know, India has been buying Russian crude and selling it to the West at profit. What are the long-term implications on India for this? Excuse me.
Very good. We make a profit. And we're getting it at cheaper rates. We're not affected by the market turmoil that much. This is very good for us. It's very good for India. And the West is also grateful to us for keeping the prices flowing, to keep the gas flowing and hence, oil flowing and hence the prices stable.
Listen, we are the pressure valve in this whole conflict. So India is able to get that steam buildup from being regulated. VSS wants to know, how are these politicians' children getting into IAS, like Om Birla to Indira Mayaram and many others? Dal mein kya kala hai?
Politicians' children can also be smart, or they can learn
unusual smarts to be a successful politician in India. You have to keep too many plots in your head.
Yeah, but I don't see, you see this as a upgrade. I see it as a downgrade. For the chairman of the Lok Sabha's son to be joining the IAS is like Mukesh Ambani's son becoming a train conductor. It's a significant downgrade, boss. Even the caliber of Bangla he's going to get is going to be significantly downgraded. You know, when my parents became secretary level, rather my dad, we were still only allocated a C1 house. Whereas the Speaker of Parliament gets at C1, I don't know what C1 is in the general scheme of things. They get a level 7 or a level 8 house, which is a big bungalow with a huge 1.5-2 acre garden in the middle of Delhi. Beautiful houses, by the way. Very badly upkept by the CPWD, but beautiful. So it's like, literally, like I said, it's like Ambani's son becoming a train conductor. It's a significant downgrade. I don't know if that's a smart thing. So dal mein kuch kala nahi hai. In fact, dal mein bahut kuch gora hai.
Himank 957 wants to know, how is Pakistan able to maintain such a large military force despite having a much lower defense budget?
Good question. See, they invest very smartly. Most of the capital investment goes into the Air Force, which is, and the smartest ones also join the Air Force. And the army invests overwhelmingly in small shoulder-fired weapons. They've stopped they need tanks and things, but that's not where most of the real expenditure is in these small shoulder-fired things, in attack boats and in the Air Force, which is the this thing. The rest of the military is actually quite poorly trained, and they're more of an internal security force and a hafta collection force and a property protection force.
Next question, please. Himank 957 again. In Iraq war, America mainly relied on its air power, which saved a lot of casualties. But Russia and Ukraine has been more ground-centric. Will this strategy work against a Western country?
No, I don't believe it will, Himank. When you look at the justification that a lot of these Russian handles give out, it's basically showing you how obsolete Russia's industry is. They're stuck in pre-1980s warfare styles. Their ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance complexes are absolute shit. Their ability to intercept real time is bogus. Their ability to defeat jamming is non-existent. It really shows you something that I've kept on saying, that Russian equipment is obsolete. Okay. Now, a lot of people get very upset when I say this, but what more proof do you need than what Russia is doing out there? They're not even using their Air Force. And when they use the Air Force, you saw the way they were getting shot out of the skies like flies. Right. So it is what it is.
Mr. Lee wants to know, welcome back, Mr. Lee. It's been a while. ChatGPT-3 has passed the American bar exam and also able to pass IAS exam. Given such advancements, does India need an IAS anymore?
So you see, ChatGPT can only answer things like the American bar exam and the IAS because they don't require application of mind. It should really tell you about the caliber of IAS rather than the caliber of ChatGPT. I found ChatGPT to be extremely semi-informed when it comes to more complex questions. Okay? So I'm not surprised. And yeah, we needed something other than the IAS long back. It's too late now. But we don't need the IAS.
Suresh Gupta wants to know, hi Abhijit, according to GFP 2023 index ranking, South Korea was more powerful than Japan and Western states. How authentic or meaningful was this report?
Yeah, look, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that for one very simple reason. I'll tell you. Even today, if you go to America, they will tell you there is lots of technology that Japan has that we need. But there is nothing that South Korea has that we need at the moment. In material production, yes. So in terms of, say, batteries, LG is probably the only competitor to China in terms of EV batteries. Okay. But that doesn't mean America requires its innovation, whereas Japan still has innovation that America requires. The Japanese Navy, the Japanese Air Force are significantly more powerful than South Korea. Its GDP is significantly larger than South Korea. I mean, even you look at a car today, on average, a Japanese car has much better reliability and much better fuel efficiency than a Hyundai. If you live in India, Suresh, you will, I mean, just go check out what the fuel efficiency of the Hyundai Creta is and what the fuel efficiency of that latest, Toyota Suzuki Grand Vitara is. Huge difference. Almost 10 kilometers to the liter difference, boss. So no, I don't agree with this. These indices, I've never taken these indices seriously. Even the ones that say, business ranking in India has gone up and bullshit, I've never taken them seriously.
Next question, please. Mr. Lee wants to know why shouldn't one assume that Vicky Nuland's recent visit is benign and doesn't include attempts to set in stage massive interference in general elections of 2024?
Because Vicky Nuland has a history of being an insufferable nose poker. There is nowhere that she goes with a benign agenda. She is not a benign creature. Okay, it's basically like saying that if you see Darth Vader on a planet, he's there for pilgrimage. No, Darth Vader only goes with some agenda to kill Jedis or capture a planet. Right? It's that simple.
Levi Ackerman wants to know, question to both of you. In spite of Harappan civilization has the best drainage system in the world, why is India's drainage system and water quality become horrible now in today's time?
Because we lost what the Harappan civilization was. Nobody even remembers what it was. If you don't even remember the civilization, how will you remember its achievements?
Levi, the main reason why the drainage system and the water system are breaking down, especially in the cities, is corruption. Corruption is up to your eyeballs.
Sorry, I'm not sure I agree with that. In fact, I have the exact opposite experience. When I was in Delhi the first, I lived just a stone's throw away from where I'm now. It was a place called R.K. Puram, and there were these 8-9 story flats. We used to get 1 hour of water in the morning and 1 hour of water in the evening. Today, water isn't a problem anymore. We get water whenever we want. Do you know today Delhi's tap water is almost potable water?
Listen, you are taking one city, one area, and projecting it for the rest of the country. That's not true.
Let me finish. Okay. In Madras, their issue has been that there was a certain catchment area. That catchment area was very unfortunately placed and it never caught rain. So there was a case of a severe drought happening out there. Okay. Third issue has been water wastage. One of the things is our water supply has actually become so efficient that 60% of the water pumped today, there is no value for water left anymore. You're not pricing water at what it should be priced at. So there is no correlation between the effort that's gone to provide you with that water and the price you're paying for that water. And 60% of our water supply is wasted. So it's a lot of different things. I would actually say that water supply situation is vastly better today than it was 15, 20 years back, which again was vastly better than it was 15, 20 years before that.
I agree. I disagree with you, but that's all right. Let's go on to the next question. We're not talking about our disagreements here. Prince wants to know, even if we rewrite our history narrative, how can we ensure that next government won't attempt to change it? How can we ensure history to be presented without government bias?
Look, there's two kinds of history, okay? One is the history you study in college, and one is the history you're compulsorily taught at school. You have to rewrite because school history is the basic history that everybody has to study. When you rewrite the history, you ensure that the next government does not change it. That is the point of a well-written history. So if another government comes, it means you haven't written your history very well. Okay, and then there is college history, where you should disagree, where you should never accept what is written. Because a college education is not a school education, should always be an education of rote. A college education should never be an education of rote. It is meant to be an education of specialization and questioning.
All right, that brings us to a close for today's session. We have pending questions. We will be answering them when Abhijit has some time. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Vetrivel, Veeravel, welcome again to all of you, and have a great week. And please go ahead, Abhijit. You wanted to say something.
Veil, vetri, veil.
Vetrivel, Veeravel.
Don't do that. That is the up yours sign in British English. This.
Oh, okay. All right. Both hands, just so we know for
Yes.
sure. Okay.
Yes.